Ms. Fee, I wanted to ask, when will the Secretary complete the legal review of atrocity designation in regards to Ethiopia? We've been waiting for months.
We have decided to refrain at the current moment from making a public determination in order to allow space and time to see if the talks that are currently underway can make progress.
Did you catch that? You think you are tuning in to see a congresswoman hold the State Department accountable. But what you are actually watching is the difference between performing for Twitter and actually doing the job Ilhan Omar tried to pin Assistant Secretary. Molly Fee to the wall on Africa relations, hunting for a gotcha moment. But instead of folding, Molly Fee delivered a masterclass in why adults need to be in charge of foreign policy. Stick around, because we are breaking down the full clip. And trust me, the American people will not keep sitting quietly while this kind of political theater is passed off as leadership. Let's get into it.
Ms. Fee, I wanted to ask, when will the Secretary complete the legal review of atrocity designation in regards to Ethiopia? We've been waiting for months.
As I have discussed here today, our primary focus has been on trying to engage diplomatically in the many ways that are available to us to reach an end to the conflict, which would obviously result in an immediate end of the atrocities. And so we have decided to refrain at the current moment from making a public determination in order to allow space and time to see if the talks that are currently underway can make progress. But I want you to know that we have undergone an active and dynamic determination process. It's ongoing as we continue to assess emerging reports of human rights violations and abuses, and we remain committed to seeing what we can do to address the current elements that have caused all of us such concern. Mm-hmm. We have also engaged Facebook and Twitter. I've spoken here today to ask the diaspora to consider how it discusses the situation. And we are quite concerned as well by hate speech by the government and other elites in Ethiopia. And I think we need to call on everyone to do better to address that situation.
Thank you. There's also increasing reports that the United Arab Emirates, Turkey, China, Iran are arming the Ethiopian government with drones and other weapons. Isn't it time to be pushing for an arms embargo? And in the meantime, shouldn't we pushing our allies to stop arming Abiy's government?
Absolutely. The issue of arms supplies to Ethiopia is a component of our diplomacy with regional and international allies. And the issue of an arms embargo is one of the many elements of the discussion taking place in New York in the Security Council.
There's also mass migration that is happening in Ethiopia. Millions of people have been displaced. It's contributing to the crisis that's taking place in Sudan. We obviously are seeing many of these migrants enter Libya. That are being brutalized. We're also seeing what's happening in Europe, as some of them are facing heart conditions as they try to enter the border of some of the European countries. What is the U.S. involvement in trying to mitigate this situation and provide humanitarian assistance?
The subject of Ethiopia has been a subject of immense focus and concern since the Biden-Harris administration took office. In the early months of the administration, they appointed Jeff Feltman as envoy. We continue to be active in Addis with other parties to the conflict who we can reach outside of Addis. As I mentioned before, we're working with the African Union. We're trying to support President Obasanjo. We're working with Kenya and other influential partners in Africa. We're working in the Security Council, at the Human Rights Council. We work with our like-minded partners in Europe. There is a real sustained effort to try and arrest this conflict because of the devastating consequences that you've just described in your intervention.
And I hope those efforts are being handled with the urgency that it deserves. I believe Ethiopia is too big to fail, and it's the possibility of it destabilizing the whole region just breaks my heart. Speaking of the East African region, we know that Somalia has failed to have elections for over a year now. That conflict is happening. What is the U.S. position on trying to pressure the Somali government to engage in a process that allows for proper elections to take place?
So we agree with you absolutely that the elections are critical, first to complete the parliamentary elections so that the stage is set to move to the presidential elections. That is a component of our engagement with the government, all parties in Somalia, and with all the many regional and international actors who are also active in Somalia so that there's a unified message. We're also looking now, as you know, the AMISOM mandate is about to expire, and we're looking at how that mandate can be reconfigured to support both the political process and the fight against al-Shabaab. So there is no neglect of that situation. It remains tough to convince the parties to move in the right direction. There has been some progress in the parliamentary elections, but there needs to be more, and it needs to be done more quickly to help Somalia get on a path to self-sufficiency. So that is an area of active discussion, again, with Somali leaders and with our partners in the African Union and in Europe who are financing part of the AMISOM conflict.
And to my colleague's point earlier with the carrot and stick, what mechanisms are we utilizing to make sure that Somalia understands what our position is in regards to this and takes the proper course?
I think one of the lessons that we learned from Afghanistan, that I personally learned and that Secretary Blinken learned, doing more of the same is not necessarily sufficient. So there's a real effort to make clear to the Somalis that they cannot depend indefinitely on international assistance and that they need to play a role in leading and managing their own country. So that is a spirit that is infusing our approach to Somalia.
All right, take a breath because there's a lot to unpack here. But the headline is simple. One person in that room wants headlines, and the other wants peace. Watch how Ilhan Omar comes out of the gate obsessed with the atrocity designation, pushing for timelines, demanding answers, and showing impatience. While Malifi refuses to take the bait. Calmly explaining the State Department is deliberately holding back public determinations to preserve negotiations, which is what real diplomacy looks like. Ilhan Omar wants a label she can tweet, while Malifi wants the fighting to stop. She is playing chess while Ilhan Omar is playing checkers. Then comes the arms embargo where Ilhan Omar lists countries and demands immediate pressure and confrontation. But Mali stays. Professional explains arms supplies are already part of diplomacy and shuts it down without emotion, refusing to turn foreign policy into a soundbite. And the real moment comes with Somalia when Ilhan Omar wants the United States to step in again, and Mali politely but firmly brings up Afghanistan, makes it clear the lesson has been learned, and says Somali leaders must lead without relying forever on international help, cutting to the hypocrisy of wanting America to police the world and then attacking it for doing so. Malifi dismantles a narrative of inaction with facts, strategy, and reality. And the American people are done with hearings used for personal branding. We want results, not rhetoric. And in this clip, Malifi delivered results while Ilhan Omar delivered noise. Let me know what you think in the comments. Was Malifi too soft or was she the adult in the room? Like and subscribe.